So welcome back to another episode of Sensational Stories. I'm not entirely sure that it's another episode. Let me explain a little bit about the process of what we do with the episodes of Sensational Stories. I invite parents, or they get in contact with me to appear on the channel. I send them an information pack. They answer 4 questions and I kind of edit and put it all together. The thing is that on the next episode, episode 3, which I'm currently working on, I've had all the answers back in various different formats, and there was one parent who sent back her answers, and she did it in audio, which is fine. The thing is, she answered all 4 questions brilliantly, just like the other parents, but she went off on a rant. That's not a bad thing. The thing is when I was listening to her answers and it got to where she kind of went off tangent, I thought in the first 5 seconds, I'm going to have to do some editing with this to make it fit with the rest. The thing is after about 10-15 seconds, I was transfixed. I couldn't stop listening to the points she was making. Like I said, it wasn't relevant to the questions that I asked, but what she was saying really did strike a chord. I found myself in a difficult position then. Do I try to make that work into episode 3 with the rest of the parents, or what do I do? So I've come up with a conclusion that I'm going to do something as a side story, and to give it its own video, purely on the basis that I can't bring myself to chop it down and make it fit with episode 3. I'm not going to rabbit on, because I think the audio clip will shine a light on everything that I'm saying. So please just take a listen and see what you think.
Hello, my name's Natasha and my son is Archie, who is just turned 6 and was diagnosed with autism 3 months shy of his 4th birthday. So I was asked, since his diagnosis, what is the biggest thing that I have learnt, the biggest lessons that I've learnt from his diagnosis. And for me, I think it is 2 things. Is number 1 is how hard you have to fight for your child who is on the spectrum, or actually any child that has got an additional need, whether that be ADHD, or dyslexia, or if there is behavioural issues. I feel that in this country, and I don't know what it's like in other countries, but I kind of feel that, we're still trying to grasp autism and what it means in modern day society, and how we deal with it in modern day society. And I've just found that from before I got his diagnosis, I was made very aware that, for instance, mainstream schools wouldn't be able to handle his behaviour. It would be seen as he was a problem child, or that, he was a naughty child, when in fact, he was just finding it really hard to grasp certain things. And so for me, I literally spent probably from about when he was 14 months of age right up until now fighting for him. And it's a fight that is probably never going to go away. It's always going to be there. So that's one of the lessons that I've learned since becoming a parent to a child that has actually been diagnosed with autism, is that you will constantly be fighting for your child's rights. The second thing that I've learned since becoming a parent with a child on the ASD spectrum is acceptance. And I think when you have a child that views the world slightly differently to his peers, it just kind of makes you more accepting of just everyone, really. Like you just don't, I think you just don't become judgmental. I think that we are all too easily judgmental on other people, other people's parenting or other people's children. And I just think, for me, I've just become more accepting of, if I see a child and they're having a meltdown, I don't automatically assume that, oh, that child is naughty and spoiled and the parents don't know how to parent them. My first thought now is, there's a possibility that they could be, they've become overstimulated and they could be on the autism spectrum, or, they could be finding this, this shopping trip difficult. Whereas before I had my son, I would have probably looked at them and gone, oh my God, like that child has just been so badly behaved, and would have just been quite judgmental. So for me, my son's kind of changed my perspective on people, across the, all sorts of different disabilities, people that have got OCD, people that have got ADHD, people that have got, all sorts of different behavioural issues. And for me, I just find that I'm just, like I said, a lot more accepting of everyone. I just don't make any perceived judgment about anyone anymore. I was then asked how my experiences will help other individuals, and I don't know if this is going to be going out to individuals as in other parents with children with autism, but to parents that have just had that diagnosis of your child's being diagnosed with autism. Let me just tell you this now: don't give up. Don't give up hope. Just don't give up. It will be hard. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it for anyone. It's hard, and there's days when you don't even know yourself. There's days where you've literally had like maybe 3 hours uninterrupted sleep, and then you've got to get through the day of, getting your child ready to go out into the world, whether that's go to the supermarket or go to school or go to nursery. So it's, it is hard, but let me tell you something, it is the most rewarding job to see your child hit milestones that maybe you didn't think that they were going to achieve, or being able to sleep through the night for the first time, or to be able to sign to you or to tell you that they love you. It is so rewarding. So don't ever give up hope, and I know it's really, really difficult, but just make sure that you get a good support network around you. Join forums, get in contact with the National Autistic Society, do whatever you need to do that's going to give you that support network. I was really lucky that I lived in a borough that actually pointed me in all of the right directions, and it was brilliant. I was really, really lucky, and without those people, I don't think I would have been able to cope. And I was very lucky that I had really, really supportive friends and really supportive family that were there to help me when, there was days when it wasn't so good, and they were there to sort of share the bad times, but they're also there to sort of see all of the good times as well. For me, I'm going to say this to sort of like the general people that are meant to be looking after the parents of children with autism and autistic children. This is like local authorities, schools, health professionals. There needs to be more support for parents with children with autism. That is a must. The support that I have seen some local authorities give parents, and the lack of support other parents I know from other local authorities, it really, really staggers me. It should be across the boards all the same level of support, because when you become a parent to a child with ASD, it doesn't come with a manual. Like just being a parent, it doesn't come with a manual. You have to start learning things. And 9 times out of 10, these parents, well, one of the parents will end up becoming not only a parent to that child, they will also become that child's carer, that child's advocate. So there needs to be massive support in place for the parent stroke carer of a child with autism. I was, going back to work, and in the end I had to actually give up work, and I was absolutely worried about money, about support, about how I get, my son into a nursery or into a school. And I was really, really lucky that I had a SEND worker that actually was assigned to me and Archie, and not only did she know the ins and outs of everything, but she'd been through this journey herself, as her daughter is also autistic. So she had been through all of the things that I had been through. She pointed me in the right direction of the fact that Archie may be entitled to disability living allowance, which then means that I could be entitled to carers allowance, which then means my child tax credit go up. All of these things really, really helped because I'd just come off maternity leave. I was dwindling into my savings. It was hard. So without her, I wouldn't have known where to go. She also was the person that said to me, do you know what? Archie's entitled to get an EHCP, and we managed to get an EHCP, but we just found it really, really difficult. He was in a mainstream nursery that couldn't deal with him, and then he was shunted to another nursery who, again, they said they could deal with him, and they didn't. And in the end, I found an amazing nursery that had 20 years experience of dealing with children with additional needs and everything, and I just was so lucky. So for me to everyone that's involved with autism, I need to kind of make you aware that there definitely needs to be more support put in place. You need to stop cutting funding in this particular area, because it does seem to be that when cuts need to take place, with regards to schools and everything else, the first place that those cuts get made to is probably to the additional needs. And it's not good, because children are suffering, and I really, really need to make that point. I can't make that point strongly enough. More and more children are being diagnosed with autism than they were 30 years ago. It's not going to go away, and children need to be able to get that support in place for school. Every child has a right to an education, regardless of colour, religion, disability, needs. They should be able to have all of that support in place. So I really need, if this is going to the people that are in the professionals to help other individuals, that's the one thing that I would please say. Please, can there be more support for parents with children that are on the spectrum? The next question I was asked was, apart from parents, who else has my child formed a special bond with or a relationship with? I have to say that I'm really, really lucky that my child is very sociable, very outgoing. He's an extremely popular boy, and he has lots of relationships with people other than his parents. He has built really, really special relationships with my mum, so maternal grandmother, and his dad's dad, so paternal grandfather and paternal grandmother. He is also very lucky to have godparents that he has got amazing bonds with. One of his godparents has been my friend for over 30 years, and he feels really, really comfortable to be in her company and stay at her house, and he's just really, really comfortable with her. He's also built close bonds with my 2 closest friends who have also got children that are the same age as Archie, and in turn they have become really, really good friends. Actually, whilst we've been in isolation, the boys have been FaceTiming one another, which has been quite good. So they're relationships that he's bonded with, and that's brilliant. And then he's also formed relationships, really, really good relationships with his teachers at school. He goes to enhanced learning provision, and he has 3 teachers that he's formed really close bonds with. He's also formed a close bond with the PE coach, who he absolutely adores. And actually, I believe that he has got really, really good relationship with a lot of the teachers and kids within his school. Like, apparently everyone knows Archie at his school, which is quite funny. Like, he walks through the corridor and everyone's like, hi Archie. He's a very, very big character at school, and he's very loved and regarded, so that's always really nice to hear. Archie has also formed really close bonds with his old nursery workers, who even now when they see me go, how's Archie? They always message me, they follow him on Instagram so they can see how he's doing. And he's also got a really, really close bond with the holiday club that he goes to. He's formed really close bonds with them over the last sort of year and a half that he's been going to them. So all in all, my son's really has discovered great relationships with all different people, not just his parents, and he has formed amazing friendships and bonds with everyone, which is, what I was so worried about, was that he may not be able to get, the joys of friendship, maybe not understand, friendships, but he really is the most sociable child, and I'm very, very lucky. And so he has got really good relationships with people, and that's really good. And it's all people that are in his life, quite frequently. And so that's all good. And then the last question that I've been asked is how I'm preparing my son for the future. I think really and truly it isn't, I don't really feel that I can at the moment prepare him for the future. He's still very young. He's only 6 years of age. And for me, it's a day by day, week by week, month by month process. A little over a year ago, my son, was still not really talking, and now he's having like full-blown conversations. My son is still not 100% toilet trained, so we are having, we're having that sort of battle. So for me, it is a day-by-day process. We go through things day by day, week by week, and that's kind of my approach with him. To talk about things so far in the future is, it's just not really the way forward for us as parents to be having conversations with him like that. We talk to him about, oh right, well, you're going to be going to school for for this term, and then when it gets close to half term, then it's, oh right, okay, actually you're going to be going to holiday club, and you'll be going to holiday club for like a couple of weeks, and sort of stuff like that. It's really hard to sort of prepare him for the future, because he doesn't really understand things long term. He just understands things short term. So hopefully as he gets older, that will start to improve, and I'll be able to sort of like start preparing him for like other things, like, oh, you're going to go into secondary school, and one day you may have to go out and work or go college, and but at the moment it is a day by day, week by week, month by month, preparing him